Welcome everyone to my walkthrough of Bloodborne. In this guide, my goal is to show off some strats that will make some of the more unbearable encounters for new players or even returning players a little bit more manageable, but I also think that I'll be showing off at least what I think is the most optimal way to absolutely breeze through this game. I've played this game on 3 separate consoles, and I've completed the game hundreds of times over, so I just have lots of tips and tricks that I'd like to share with you. It's my first time doing this style of video and or series, so I apologize if I spout off a lot when I'm supposed to be, doing a walkthrough, especially in this first episode. This one's going to be a little bit on the longer side because, again, I'll be talking a lot and explaining a little bit more, and it should kind of taper off in the later episodes. But yeah, the game just, there's a lot of information in Bloodborne and a lot of it that the game doesn't outright tell you. So again, I apologize if I spout off quite a lot in this first episode. There's just a lot to go through. So with that being said, here is the first area of Bloodborne, Central Yharnam. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is create a character, and we're going to, choose our starting class. Everything else is pretty much optional. You can make your guy look as cool or as dorky as you want, do whatever you want. The origin is what we're interested in. If you're a new player or if you've been struggling with this game, I say stay away from these guys here. These 3 classes are a little bit more difficult to use, especially on the start. A lot of the stats that we want to be on the higher end are unfortunately on the lower end on these guys here. So just stay away from those 3. I would probably gravitate towards these 4 over here. If you're a newer player and you've been struggling, I definitely recommend the Lone Survivor. You have a good amount of starting HP, and the other stats are kind of allocated pretty well. My personal favorite is the Violent Pass because you get a lot of good damage right off the bat. But for the sake of this playthrough, that again is more so geared towards newer players, we're going to go along with the Lone Survivor. Again, everything else is optional, so we can start playing the game now. So this is a Souls-like. If you're familiar with all of the other Dark Souls games or similar games of that nature, basically our goal here is to just progress through areas, kill enemies, to make our character and our weapons stronger, so that we can then beat the bosses at the end of the levels. There's going to be some checkpoints, slash bonfires, lanterns, whatever you want to call them, sprinkled in between. And this game does have a big emphasis. I mean, they all do, but this game has a big emphasis on opening up shortcuts and a lot of backtracking and stuff like that. So the first encounter that we're going to have in this game is not outright, you're not scripted to die here, but I'm pretty sure the devs intended you to die. They don't really give you any weapons to defend yourself with, and this enemy is kind of tough for the starting section of the game. Just know that you can kill him. It's entirely possible, but for the walkthrough, I will not be doing it, but I will try to show off how you can kill him, and at the same time, hopefully it'll give me a chance to talk about stuns a little bit in this game. So in this game, there's 3 different kinds of stuns. This one right here, where if you essentially hit a charged attack on an enemy's back, it will stagger them, allowing you to do a visceral attack. A visceral attack is, all you need to know is basically a really strong attack that does a crap ton of damage. Can make a lot of the harder enemies in the game, or a lot of the harder bosses, just way more easier. There's a few other ways that we can get stuns off, and the main way is by parrying, so using our left-hand weapon, which we will get a little bit later. I just got it off again. And then the other way is basically a little bit more obscure, and it's more so revolving around like bigger enemies like bosses, but it's basically limb damage. Every enemy has a certain amount of limb damage that it can take, and if you do a certain amount of damage on, let's say, the enemy's leg, then the enemy will stagger, allowing you to get a visceral attack. And again, a visceral attack is basically just a really big damaging attack that pretty much kills enemies. It doesn't always one-shot them, but it does an insane amount of damage. So, we're going to die to this enemy, finally, and again, I'm pretty sure the devs wanted you to do this, so don't feel bad if you die to this. If anything, I would kind of try to do what I did, and pretty much just try to have fun with that enemy, just try to dodge around, see how long it can survive, just to get used to, how responsive the movement is in this game, and all of that good stuff. So once we die to that enemy, we will be transported to the hub area of this game. So the hub in this game is called the Hunter's Dream. And in the Hunter's Dream, this is where we will be doing all of our good stuff. We'll be leveling our character, we'll be upgrading our weapons in this kind of church over there. There's some vendors over to the left side, and then over here on the right is how we go back to the playable area. So, right now we can't really interact with our friend here. She's a sleepy gal, so we're just going to choose our weapons. So your right hand weapon or your main weapon. Honestly, if it's your first playthrough, I would stay away from the cane. It's not that it's a bad weapon, it's just a little bit more difficult to use if you're a new player or if you've been struggling. The axe is okay, in my opinion. It's really good for crowd control, specifically the spin to win attack. But besides that, it's a little bit too slow and unwieldy for my liking. So I always go with the saw cleaver because I'm not even exaggerating when I say that this is a probably top 3 weapon in the entire game, and they give it to you right off the bat. So we always do that, at least I do. Left hand weapon. Really, the only thing you need to know is that, again, the guns in this game are not going to be, you're not going to be spamming bullets to kill enemies by just using your guns. Really, what you want to do here is basically use the guns as a parry tool, a way to get stuns off, so then we can get our visceral attacks. The blunderbuss is like a shotgun. It's a little bit slower to draw and a little bit slower to shoot, but it has a forgiving spread. And the pistol is a pistol. It draws way quicker and it shoots faster. At least you get your shots out faster. And at least in my opinion, it's a little bit more effective at range at actually getting stuns off. Again, we're not going for like damage. We're just how reliable are these things at getting stuns. I usually go for the pistol, but it's entirely up to you. And the notebook. Notebook is basically just leaving messages around for other players, which we will not be doing. So, now that we have our weapons, we need to equip them. So you open up the menu using the options button. These 2 slots over here are going to be our right hand weapon slots. These 2 slots over here are going to be our left hand weapon slots. Doo-doo-doo. And there you go. Now we're cooking, boys. We got weapons. So, really, really basic controls. There's a lot more, kind of complicated controls to go in a little bit later, but really, really basic. Circle is your dodge button. It also acts as a sprint button. If you hold it and press any directional input, instead of walking or jogging, your guy will now sprint around at the cost of stamina. Stamina is the green bar on top of the top left of the screen, and the HP is the red bar. Triangle, if you were to have healing items, would heal you. Square would use some quick use items, and we'll go into that a little bit later. R1 for combat, basically your basic quick attacks, you can combo those off. L2 is your left hand weapon, and then, left trigger. The right trigger, if you hold it, it will do a charge attack. If you press forward, or just a forward directional input, and just tap the trigger button, your guy will do a jumping attack. And then one really cool thing that this game has, all of the weapons, all of the main weapons or the right hand weapons, all share this characteristic where if you press the L1 or the left bumper, your weapon will transform into an alternative form. So a lot of them basically, I should say about half of them allow you to keep your left hand weapon out, so we can still use our gun. But some of them, like let's say the Ludwig's Holy Blade, will essentially turn your weapon into a two-handed version of itself. So you won't be able to use your gun anymore. So keep that in mind. If you like using your gun, just try to ideally pick the weapons that keep the left-hand weapon out in the alternative form. And if you don't really care about that, then honestly good for you, because you're gonna have a lot more options when it comes to weapons. So again, on the right hand side here, this is how we go back to the playable area. There's nothing really much for us to do in here right now, so we will go back to the only place that we can go, and it's right over here. And now we can actually start playing the game. So the first thing we're going to do when we go back into this area is we're going to get our blood echoes back. Our blood echoes, if you're familiar with other Souls games, is essentially your souls. That's your experience points. In this game we use it to level up our character, we use it to upgrade our weapons, and it's also a currency. We can buy things with it, but mainly we're upgrading our character with it. So one thing I didn't mention when I was talking about controls is when I was talking about the transformations, is that you can also combo off and do some transformations mid-combo. So instead of just doing a regular R1 over and over again, you could do R1, L1, L1, or any combination of that. But this combination, or this attack specifically, is very good for damage, very good for crowd control, it's very good for a lot of things. We'll be using that combo quite a lot. This guy, R1, L1, L1. And he's dead. Now we got blood vials. So in this game, there is your healing is actually a consumable item. So if you're familiar with other Souls games, in other Dark Souls games or stuff like that, you have a limited amount of healing per life, depending on your Estus and how many I don't know what the items are called, but you can upgrade them and get more and more heals. In this game, pretty much it's a consumable. So as long as you keep picking up blood vials, you can basically heal for an unlimited amount. You can only carry 20 on your character at once, but then again, like you said, if you just keep picking them up, then you can heal as long as you have them, pretty much. In this game, there is also an inventory system, which means you can essentially amass a big stockpile of healing items or bullets or just any consumable that drops. So if you're struggling, it's not a bad idea to just essentially go through this opening area and just farm enemies. Not only are you getting really good experience for doing that, but you're just going to, again, you're going to be amassing a big stockpile of very useful items. So that's never a bad thing. A lot of the basic enemies in this area are really good for, I mean, it's a tutorial area, so they're not very complicated, they're not very difficult enemies to kill. And one thing that I'll try to show off on maybe the next enemies is actually a few different things. So I'll just let this one guy stand up. So you'll see if he tries to go for a swing here, I was a little late. I don't really want to kill him either. Well, I guess I'll show the second thing off. So if you look at my HP bar here, he's going to hit me. If I hit him back, basically I get some HP back just from hitting him. So there is a built-in kind of retaliation system in this game. So again, an enemy hits you, a small portion of your health bar is going to be kind of orange colored, and then basically all you have to do is hit an enemy and you'll get some HP back for free. So the game 100% incentivizes you to be the aggressor. And to not cower away from fights. Another thing I want to kind of show off is that our weapons, not only in the starting area, but just in the game in general, are really good at kind of, I don't want to say stunning enemies, but essentially kind of stun locking them out of their animation. So if an enemy's like mid-swing and you decide to hit him, it'll basically stun him out of his animation. It's a little bit difficult to show it on these guys because they die in 2 hits. Like, that would have essentially been it there, but again, I'll try to show it off on another enemy. But just keep that in mind. Don't be afraid to, if you take a hit and you're fairly confident that you can get another hit off on the enemy before he hits you, go for it. 100% go for it. Another thing is parry timings, and again, I'll talk about that a little bit later when we fight the Executioner, but parries are super important in this game. After going up that big ass ladder, we got our first actual checkpoint or bonfire or not hunter stream, the lantern, whatever you want to call it. So this would transport us back to the hub world. There's no real point in us doing that right now, so we'll just have to keep progressing through the level. There's also, in typical FromSoft fashion, there are some side quests and little side objectives that you can do in the game. These are not necessary to beat the game or to actually beat the game, but I believe if you want to 100% it, or if you want to get the platinum trophy, I think there are a few side quests that you do have to engage in. Just again, for the sake of this walkthrough, I will be showing you all of these side quests that there are. The first one is right here at this window. We can talk to a man named Gilbert. Gilbert is going to have 3 dialogue trees, I guess, that we have to go through. Once we get to this last one, across the valley to the east of Yharnam, that is the last dialogue tree that you need to exhaust. Once you've exhausted all of his dialogue, just know that you started a side quest or a little side objective. There's nothing really that you have, like this one is probably the easiest one in the game. Like the only thing we'll be doing is going back to this window on 3 separate occasions to essentially get items. That's pretty much it. Progressing on, Pebbles. You might be laughing, what the fuck do I need rocks for? Believe it or not, the pebbles are super important, and I just realized I didn't pick up those Molotovs back there. Whatever, no big deal. There is a Molotov down there where I was fighting those 2 guys. Your pebbles. This area, and honestly the game in general, is a testament or an exercise in crowd control. Basically, we'll be using our pebbles to get enemy aggro and to essentially kite them into areas where we want to fight them. And if you're not familiar with kiting, that's essentially what I just said. We basically just want enemies to follow us to a more favorable location where we don't have to fight them in groups of 3, 4, 5. You'll see what I mean later on. This enemy right here always does the same animation. One more swing, and you can get him pretty much in 1 hit if he's still in that animation. This guy over here, the shield guy, R1, L1, L1. Every time you do that combo, it will break his shield. So we go down the stairs. Almost every time you go down the stairs here, these guys will always aggro onto you. You can use this railing to kind of herd them, or basically, again, try to kite enemies or separate them. That way you only have to fight 1 or 2 at a time. just be aware that they can hit you through this, and there you go, perfect example. The pitchfork guy can hit you through this. They can all hit you through this. We can also, as you just saw, hit them through that, which is really good. So a lot of the enemies here in this area, if this helps, will die to anywhere in between 2 to 4 hits. So just gives you an idea of how much you have to commit to a fight. After we open this first shortcut, this is the first real shortcut, I guess. It's not really much of a shortcut, but hey, it's something. That essentially goes right back to the ladder that we went up to open up the lantern. This guy, you will die to this enemy quite a lot. So this is arguably the first skill check of the game. Parry timings. I would 100% advise you to learn your parry timings on this enemy. It'll just make this fight way easier, and of course, as I say that, I get absolutely ass blasted. But and we'll see after. Like, look how much damage this visceral did. 190. We're gonna heal up because I'm a peach. Dodge that, and then if we just whack him normally, like 4 hits just did like 80 damage. You're way better off just visceraling this guy or getting the parries off. Oh my goodness, I think you're way better off getting the parries. And good golly, I'm struggling. I can't talk and play at the same time if that's been obvious. Good golly, back up. Boom, boom. So, as you can see, this is a really tough enemy. He's pretty tanky for this point in the game. And he's got a good amount of HP. Most enemies at this point in the game will die to just 1 visceral attack. He takes 2. And as you saw, he takes pretty much a whole lot of wailing on to be able to kill him. Again, you'll probably die to that guy a few times. Just try to learn your parries. Don't get discouraged too. Like, that's another thing. You'll die probably a lot in this opening area. Just don't be discouraged. Be patient. Again, this is a really good game, and it sucks that a lot of people don't get to play it because they get essentially rage quit, right? Oh, there's an item over there, probably some blood vials, so we should pick those up. A lot of the enemies in the starting area will drop either blood vials or quicksilver bullets, which again is really good for farming. So we're going to progress over here. There's always a guy with a gun crouched over here. I know it looks like he's dead because he's not standing up or anything, but just make sure to kill this guy because look at that. So yes, we will have to deal with all of those enemies, but again, with the power of patience and our pebbles, we'll be able to essentially fight all of these guys off, you know, one by one, instead of fighting this group of, I don't know, 12, 13 enemies. So again, we're just trying to bait them into us. Bait the attacks. Get over here. I don't even need to dodge a lot of these guys. And I'm sure you saw there too, like a lot of the, like, he was like about to start another animation for another attack, and I just hit him and it completely stopped him in his tracks. A lot of these really basic enemies, that will happen. Just trying to get them to follow us. Again, patience, this whole area, at least this little bit. This is probably the second, I would say, skill check of the game, where you're probably going to struggle a lot, and it's just an exercise in patience. That really is it. I know it sucks, I know you're playing, you know, a really fun game with really fun combat, and you want to just get in there, but if you keep dying over and over again, just take your time. Really take your time. Whatever enemies are left that aren't coming towards us, we're going to probably throw pebbles at. And the reason why I'm being very careful and I'm not kind of crossing this area is because there's a guy with a gun on top there, and there's a guy with a gun behind that fire pit on top of all the other enemies. So the guns in this game, basically, like us, they will stun you. So if you're in the middle of, let's say, an attack animation and you happen to get hit by a bullet, your guy will stop attacking, you'll get stunned. And the last thing you want to do when you're fighting, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 enemies at a time is to be stunned. So that's the whole reason why we're being very careful here. And honestly, it's just another thing to kind of keep track of. It's a lot more difficult to keep track of when the guy is aiming at you and when he's about to shoot you, on top of worrying about not dying to the rest of these basic enemies. So again, we're just going to try to bait a few of these guys out without getting the attention of the gunmen. If we get the attention of one of the guys with the guns, that guy on top there, like, just like that, it's not really that big of a deal. We just have to pretty much, I don't know if you drive, if you drive a car, but basically it's just like looking in your rear view every now and then, just peek at him just to see what he's doing. If he's got his gun in the air, he's about to shoot you. If he's not really looking at you, or he's kind of like that, then you know you're completely safe. But as soon as, let's say, across here, there you go, hand in the air, just move a little bit to the side. Bullets are kind of slow, and once they kind of like onto you here, now you can move. He's gonna shoot where you were. And again, it's all with timing. Like, I've played this game so much that it's almost muscle memory at this point. Those guys got stuck on the stairs. That was pretty funny. Come on, guys. Come on. So for sure, I'm sure you've noticed, like, I'm just really taking my time, and I 100% recommend that you do the exact same. There's no point in rushing through this area. Ooh, good golly. This guy's really slow. So we're going to throw a rock at... Oh, good golly. That was really awesome. I dodged that bullet by throwing a rock, essentially. That's pretty cool. Alright. I don't have patience anymore. R1, L1, L1. Dodge, because he's about to shoot. Perfect. So we've cleared out most of the enemies over here. So now we can actually backtrack just a little bit. Right where that guy with a gun was a little bit earlier. We're going to go up these stairs. And then up these stairs. Be careful on the right-hand side. There's always a guy there that tries to... I think he tries to jump scare you, but he's a little bit late. Like, I always feel like he's a second late. Whereas in this guy over here is always really good. Anytime you hit that, I don't know, mud puddle or whatever, he always jumps out at you. So if you don't like jump scares, you're welcome. Two more enemies over here. Oh, good golly, I went right in there. Alrighty. Dead. There is going to be one more enemy positioned on top here, basically to show you that you can sneak attack people. So if an enemy has their back turned and is not looking at you, as long as you walk to their back, not jog, not sprint, walk up to their back, you can do a charged attack and basically kill them pretty much for free. Most of the enemies that you can do this to will die in, you know, thanks to that combo. Hitting a charge attack and doing the visceral is, like I said, pretty much a death sentence for most of the enemies in the game. So, now most of those enemies are dead. We just have 2 gunmen. Is that really all we have left? 2 gunmen and a dog. That's odd. Usually there's more enemies that are... I guess we cleared off more than I thought. So, we go up those stairs. And now that there's only the 2 gunmen, we're essentially playing a first-person shooter. The only thing you're going to do is basically just keep cover in between you and the gunmen. Even that little light post, whatever it takes for you not to get hit. Sometimes the gunman will lock on, sometimes you won't, which is great because we can now do a plunging attack on this dog. The dog, once the dog notices you, will always circle around this carriage and come right over here where he was, which allows you to do a plunge attack. Basically, anytime you're falling off of a platform or you jump off a platform, just press the R1 button and your guy will do a plunging attack. And there you go. If you just followed my instructions or did pretty much what I did, you've just completed the second skill check of the game. I would argue that's probably the hardest area out of the first half of this first area, if that makes any sense, because this first area is quite large. And again, we're only going to cover about half of it plus the first boss fight in this episode. But yeah, you've again probably just completed the hardest part right there. And if you notice, because we were patients, we didn't use any healing, so we have 20 healing vials. We're literally already at our max, so whatever healing we're going to start getting now is just going to go into our inventory so we can just keep amassing them. These guys might seem intimidating, but they're really good to learn your parry timings on. They only have of course I messed it up, good golly. They only have a few attacks. That's one of them, and they have a running attack as well. That right there. They also have a running attack that'll do at any point during the running animation if you hit them. Alright, well, he won't show it to me. I didn't really talk about the parry timings because I got humbled by the executioner earlier, but the parry timings are honestly different for every enemy. So every enemy in the game has a pool of, let's say, 5 or 6 different attacks. And essentially, the timings are different for all the attacks, but generally it's on the downswing, so when an enemy is about to swing his weapon, or his hand, or whatever he's about to hit you with, when that is swinging down towards you, you basically just have to hit him with your left-hand weapon or your gun, and you will stun him. Again, that's like a general rule of thumb. It's not 100% like that for all of the attacks in the game. Some enemies have way more generous parry windows, and some of them have super tiny and very precise windows for getting your parries off, so just keep that in mind. Go up these stairs here. I know I'm talking a lot. Oh, geez, sorry. So there's 2 dogs here, and what I want to do before, I'm sure you notice there's a crowd of enemies over there. So you want to go up, you want to throw a rock at that dog to essentially get this dog to come fight you down here, because I'm not trying to fight 3 dogs plus all of these enemies over here. And I say all, it's 3 people and a dog. A gunman, 2 regular enemies, and a dog. So I'm basically just staying around this this well, this lantern, around this well here to make sure that the guy with the gun just doesn't get me. Again, I don't want to be stunned while I'm fighting, you know, 2 or 3. And honestly, I could have done that way smarter. Usually what I do is I go to... Hold on, I'm just going to kill this guy. Usually what I do there is I kind of try to bait them towards me once they kind of aggro onto me. And aggro is basically once an enemy realizes that you're there, I just try to run back here and see who follows me. And most of the time, honestly, if you're lucky, the dog will actually kind of get stuck here. The dog does this weird kind of like circling run where he tries to, I don't know what the fuck that is, some dumbass dog behavior, and will eventually get kind of stuck around this fence. So then you only have to fight the 2 other guys because the gunman will stay over here. You know, he stays posted up wherever he notices you. Gunmen will always behave the same. Once they spot you, they'll essentially become a turret. They'll just stand still and start shooting at you until they decide they have to move and get closer to you. So you can kind of use that to your advantage as well. Again, this area is ripe with cover. If ever, sometimes the gunman will kind of hover around here and lock onto you. So you have the well you can use as cover. You have this tree you can use as cover. You have this wall here that you can use as cover. You have another tree over here, which isn't great. We have another tree over here that you can use as cover. There's a lot of stuff that you can put in between you and that gunman. Honestly, the dogs are probably the most intimidating part of that whole encounter. The fact that you have 3 dogs. You want to go over here. There is an item hiding. Behind this, bloodstone shards are upgrade materials, and I'll go in a little bit more in depth later about those. So, before we move on, this is the first piece of cheese that I'll be showing off. This is, I say some medium cheese. This isn't some like, you know, some aged or anything like that. This is just some medium cheese. It's fairly well known, but basically at this point, just a little bit of a spoiler. You are right around the corner from a really important shortcut to get back to our lantern. So if you're a new player and you get to this point, it's really, really debilitating and just shitty in general to die at this point over and over to these 2 fuckers. So what I recommend you do, if you don't, you know, if you're feeling confident, you know, you're feeling yourself, go for it. But what I recommend you do is to basically keep your HP bar full. Make sure you have a full stamina bar and full HP bar, and just hold the circle button and sprint right by these guys. If you do happen to get hit, do not panic, and just dodge once or twice away and try to head into this house over here. There's going to be an enemy over there. We're going to have another enemy over here. Be careful, because sometimes that other kind of, they're called Yharnamites, the other like human guy, sometimes might follow you down the stairs into this house. But yeah, and as you can see, the reason why we're doing this is because it basically, I don't want to say you're 100% safe in this room, because these enemies, first of all, they can hit you through this doorway. But as you can see here, their character models pretty much aren't able to clip through this door. Again, I've played through this game so many fucking hours. I have honestly probably close to 1,000 hours in this game, and I've seen it a handful of times where their character model will actually clip into the room, and they'll be in here with you, or at least one of them will be in here with you. So just know that, like, you're not 100% safe, but you're 99.9% safe in this room. I really thought that guy was going to see just like that, and now he's backing up. That's so fucking funny. Oh my god, what is happening? The pathing today. A little bit all over the place. So as you can see too, you're not 100% safe in the sense that you can get hit. The enemy is still fairly close to you, and if you, just like that, mess up, you can get hit, so just make sure that we're not being too aggressive. Again, you don't want to die right here. You have a lot of souls, or echoes, whatever you want to call them, and you're right around the corner from a shortcut. So the last thing you want to do is die right here. Pick up all of our items, go down the stairs. Enemy over here, and this guy over here. Don't be fooled. He's not a nice guy. See, he looked like he was just gonna look at us, pick up that item, but he's kind of an asshole. All of the guys in the wheelchairs will give you quicksilver bullets because they all have like kind of a variation of a gun. Again, you'll see more of them in later areas. But just know that it's those wheelchair enemies are good ways to farm quicksilver bullets. I'm pretty sure they always drop like 3 or 4 too, so which is really good. We open this door and we'll go up these stairs. Kill this guy over here, and I really apologize if I haven't been like basically talking about exactly what I'm doing in a sense of like going up these stairs, opening this door. And I assume you guys have eyes and you can like see where I'm going. The reason why I'm talking about other things is, again, there's a lot of information the game doesn't tell you, and I feel like it's really important for you guys to know about, you know, the rally or the retaliation system. It's good for you guys to know about parries. It's good for you guys to know about all of this kind of stuff. So again, I really apologize, but just know that if you followed the path I just took, congratulations, you've now unlocked arguably the biggest shortcut in the area, maybe the second biggest or most important shortcut in the area, and now we're back at our lamp, which means that we can go back to the dream and level up, right? Nope, fucking wrong. So, because I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here. Sorry, I had to pause the recording mid-rant. So, as I was saying, the devs essentially wanted you to have insight to level up. So if you look at the top right of our screen, our blood echoes, which is the 4074 number, that's your experience points. The little icon below that, the little eyeball, that's your insight. So in this game, insight is a currency mainly, but in a canonical sense, or in a, I guess, lower story, whatever you want to call it, insight is like an insanity meter. Basically represents how much knowledge your character has about the shit that's happening around him. So basically, just know that at this point in the game, the only way you can get insight is to enter a boss arena or to use a consumable. So right now we have a choice that we got to make. If we go to the hub right now with 0 insight, we will actually, believe it or not be able to level up, because we won't be able to perceive the doll as living. Therefore, we can't talk to her. Therefore, we cannot level up. So you got a choice you got to make. If you're feeling confident, go for the boss fight. Go for the Cleric Beast. Just skip about probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes through this video, and you'll get to the Cleric Beast fight, and there you go. If you absolutely want to level up before the first boss fight, which I kind of recommend you do because we'll actually be able to also upgrade our weapon, just follow the route that I'm going to take. So we're just going to trek on a little bit further. Instead of going back to the house that we just cleared out, we're going to go down the left-hand side. So we're going to progress a little bit further into the level, enter pretty much the first little bit of the sewer area. And yeah, essentially, like I said, we're just going to get a consumable that's going to allow us to level up, or allow us to get insight so that we can level up. Again, he was about to swing that breakdown and smash it over my head, and I hit him with the gun, and it stunned him. Let's see if he does another attack. There you go. So that running animation, any point during the actual running animation, any point during his run, you hit him with your gun and it will stun him. When he puts his arms, there you go. See, charges you, does like a shoulder tackle, any point. Probably the easiest attack to parry in the entire game. And again, when he was swinging that brick down, and the brick was on its way down onto my head, you hit him with the gun, and there you go. So ignore that for now. We're going to go up these stairs to our right. We're going to open this door, which this is going to fully open up the house that we were just in, which is great. Just makes the level a little bit more linear and, you know, requires a little bit less running around buildings and shit to get through, to get to place. Very nice. We go up these stairs. Pick up this while we're here. So we're probably going to skip those items in the second episode. I'll probably swing back around here just to show that, like, oh, there's an item here, but if you're following the actual walkthrough, we'll already have picked up those items. Are you kidding me? All of those missed. So all of these dogs in the kennels here, you don't have to worry about. There's only two dogs that you have to actually worry about. Obviously that one that just jumped out of its kennel, and then the one that I attacked earlier. These two guys here will always jump out of their kennels, or their cages. This guy here, or most of the other dogs, actually no, all of the other dogs here are essentially stuck in their cages. Kind of cruel, but also it's free XP, so who am I to complain, right? Over here to the left, there is another dog guarding a cold blood dude. Dogs are really annoying. Dogs are really, really annoying, especially that attack. Sometimes they just refuse to, you know, admit defeat, essentially, and just keep charging at you, and it's really, really annoying. Shut up. We're not trying to talk to you yet, old lady. We'll come back to her a little bit later. This guy here seems intimidating. Kind of a pushover. A lot of these big enemies are really I don't want to say pushovers, but again, their parry attack timings are fairly generous. This is a lot of the enemies in this opening area, at least a lot of the bigger, intimidating ones. I wouldn't really waste any bullets on some of the smaller enemies that we've been fighting, but a lot of these bigger, like taller guys, for sure, because they actually do hit pretty hard. As you just saw there, that was really good timing. Your animations in this game, your visceral attacks, you opening doors, you opening levers, stuff like that, you actually get iframes. If you're not familiar with the term iframe, it's invisibility frames or invincibility frames. So basically, if you're in that animation, enemies can't do anything to you. If basically you're doing a visceral attack and an enemy decides to try to swing at you, it will just go right through you. So it's not really something you can abuse, but sometimes you can kind of make that, consciously make that decision of, you know what, I'm going to go for the visceral because it's going to make me safe from the counter attack from the other enemy or whatnot. This guy here, again, looking away from us, walk up to his back. Don't get too close because he will eventually notice you. We'll do a charge attack, then allowing us to do a visceral. More bloodstone charge, so now we will for sure be able to upgrade our weapon. Move on over here. We're almost done, guys. I promise. I know this is really annoying and really long. So this area here, I almost forgot. So there's 2 gunmen and another kind of tougher enemy, and we actually want to, good golly, bait the other enemy into the other room with us, so that we don't have to worry about the guns at all. He will follow you in here. Of course, I'm hitting walls. Good golly. It's hard to walk sometimes, guys. And there you go. Again, I know I'm fucking hitting the viscerals or getting the parries off on pretty much every attack. Oh, except for that one. But just know that it comes with practice. The more and more you practice, the more you'll know where your visceral, or where to get the parries. Just practice, 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 practice. Oh, good golly. Oh, good golly at the same time, huh? They're twinning. Obviously, they're trying to. Alright. Now, I swear, we're almost done. We're just going to get this. We will be back in this area later, so I'm not going to bother getting any of the other items. Just going to show you guys where we need to go to get the consumable that will allow us to get insight, which will then allow us to level up. Go down this ladder. Go to the right. Go down this hallway over here. And at the very end of the hallway, there will be 2 rats protecting an item, and that is the item we want. So basically what I recommend you do, again, fighting groups of enemies, especially animals in this game, like rats, crows, dogs, just not fun in general. So just stay around here and just throw a pebble at one of them. Just stay here and throw a pebble at one of them. Just stay here and throw a pebble at one of them. There you go. Oh no! 2 of them. Okay, only one aggroed. Again, not trying to fight 2 rats at once. I mean, you can. It's just not fun. Especially when you're fucking dog shit like me, apparently. Good golly. And this item that they were guarding is what we wanted. The Mad Lad's Knowledge. It's called Madman, but Mad Lad is way cooler. The Mad Lads... Are you kidding me? They almost never do that, by the way. There are some rats on top of this little platform here. But they almost never do that. I'm a little surprised he did that. So the item we picked up, the Madman's Knowledge, is again a consumable. We're just going to go into our inventory, use the item, and it's going to give us insight. So then we can go, or at least when we go back to the Hunter's Dream, again we'll be able to see the doll as living, and it'll allow us to level up. So we'll just have to essentially run back to the lantern because we don't have any kind of like teleporting items, and you'll see what I talk about a little bit later. Actually, we could get one right now. Nah, it's not worth it. Not right now, not right now, not right now. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Not yet. Don't want to talk to you either. So just follow this path that I'm taking, and it'll lead us right back. We're honestly just going exactly back the same way we came. Oh, I almost made a mistake. I want to go back over here. And I know this is a little bit longer. But again, like, I know the risk reward is like, well, what if I lose my souls? Honestly, it doesn't really matter, because right now you have 0 insight, so even if you had your souls, you wouldn't have been able to level up. So before you actually use this lantern and go back to the dream, you need to open up your menu, go to your inventory, go down to the Madman's Knowledge, and use. And now we got 1 eyeball, or 1 insight. Top right of our screen, we have 1 insight, which means we can now level up. While we're here, we might as well use all of these. So these cold blood dudes, I haven't really talked about them, but essentially they go from level 1 to level 10, or level 12, sorry. And they give you essentially free souls, or free blood echoes. So we had a big stack of 6 level 1s there. There's a level 3, And now we have 8,400, just shy of 8,500 to play with. Now we want to return to the dream. And again, once we return to the dream, we'll actually be able to level up and upgrade our weapon, which is really, really cool. Let's do this. Beckoning Bell is to call players, real players, into your world to help you out. And the Old Hunter Bell is to call NPC players or computer-controlled hunters to come help you out. I definitely wouldn't, obviously players, like, you have someone to play this game with, that's fucking awesome, I wish. But the NPC ones, I wouldn't use it because it then becomes a crutch, and believe it or not, it actually makes some of the bosses more difficult because it gives them more HP. It's a little convoluted, but I wouldn't really dabble in trying to get the NPCs to help us out too much. Just try to get used to playing the game by yourself. So in this room over here is where this table is where we'll be upgrading our weapon at the workshop. We so we can fortify our weapon using bloodstones. So the upgrades, or the weapon upgrades in this game, work in tiers. So if you look at the top right of my screen right now, it says Bloodstone Shard, 3 out of 4. So basically, to get our weapon, actually I'm all over the place here. Weapons go from level 1 to level 10, okay? So we will be using different upgrade materials for different tiers. And basically the first tier is from level 1 to level 3. The next tier will be from level 4 to level 6. The next tier will be from level 7 to level 9, and the final tier, the max level, max weapon level, is level 10. So for level 1, 2, 3, we are going to be using Bloodstone Shards. From level 4, 5, 6, Twin Bloodstone Shards. Level 7, 8, 9, Bloodstone Chunks, and the last level, level 10, is a very rare item that we only get once per playthrough called Blood Rock. You actually can get 2 per playthrough, but you need the DLC to get that. So when it comes to that, I definitely recommend on your first playthrough that you stick with just these 2 weapons. Obviously, if you're kind of breezing through the game and you just want to try something out for fun, you can try out some new weapons. But I would just stick to these ones because, again, the most optimal way to upgrade your weapons, at least your starting weapons, is to essentially get your saw cleaver to level 3. Once your saw cleaver is at level 3, you will not need the bloodstone shards anymore for it, so you can then dump the rest of your bloodstone shards into your pistol to get that to level 3. And then once your saw cleaver is at level 6, using the twin bloodstone shards, you can then dump the rest of your twin bloodstone shards into your gun to make that level 6, and just essentially repeat that process over and over and over again until you have your maxed out weapon. Again, on your first playthrough, if you don't have any DLC, since you only have 1 blood rock or access to 1 blood rock, your right hand weapon, I would recommend obviously putting that at max level and then leaving your pistol at level 9. And yeah, that's essentially it. You can also repair your weapons. Your weapons will, if their durability gets too low, they start to lose damage. You start to do less damage with your weapons, so it's not a bad idea anytime you're in the hub, for pretty much whatever reason, just to come by here just to check if your gun or your right hand weapon needs to be repaired. That's pretty much it. So now we need to speak with her to level up her character. So now we're going to talk about stats a little bit more in depth. Arcane and Blood Tinge are definitely arcane. I might get some flack for this. It's fucking useless, especially if you're a new player or it's your first or second playthrough. I would even argue like Arcane doesn't really come into account until like your 3rd playthrough probably, just because of how New Game Plus works and scaling and all that. Again, some fucking guy in the comments gonna say like, oh, well, actually Arcane is really good for it. No, for a new player it's not good. Okay, I'm sorry, but Arcane is just not something you should be speccing into if you're either struggling with this game or if you're new. So I honestly completely ignore Arcane. Blood Tinge is essentially how much damage you're going to be doing with your left hand weapon, so your gun, but also some other really cool weapons that we can get later on are going to scale using Blood Tinge as well. Like the Shikage, for example, it's a really, really cool, like, samurai sword almost, like a katana that, like, you fucking imbue with your own blood. It's a really, really cool weapon. And we can get that a little bit later on in the game. So if you want to use that weapon once you see what it looks like and you think it looks cool or sounds cool, whatever, by all means, you can put some points into a blood tinge. Just know that, again, for your first playthrough, I would avoid these two. Like, you can maybe get your blood tinge to about like 10 or 15, but everything else, or definitely your arcane, I would pretty much completely ignore. One thing I didn't talk about is that all of these stats will have a soft cap. I'm not exactly sure what the soft cap is. I think it's 25, but then I'm also seeing online that it's not 25. Some people are saying there's no fucking way it's 25, it's 30. So I don't know, but just keep in mind that there is a soft cap, and basically what I mean by that is, let's say I increase my health. So if you look at the top of my screen, kind of in the middle section, my HP stat, which is 659, if I increase it by 1, it goes up, what is that, 23 points? Something like that. But long story short, once you get past the soft cap, you'll basically start to get less for leveling up. So in a sense, like, your HP is, instead of going up by 23 points, it's only going to go up by like 11 or something like that, right? And every skill or every attribute in here works like that. So essentially, just keep that in mind. There is a thing in this game called a quality build, which is probably what we're going to go for, and is basically just essentially getting all of your stats to the soft cap pretty much at the same time or in tandem, especially these two here. But for us, we're probably going to stick to the saw cleaver, the weapon we chose, which means that strength is going to be a little bit more important to us. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, if you're new, I would recommend focusing a little bit more on HP so that you're not getting killed as often. But just know that, like, if your biggest complaint about this game is like, oh, everything's fucking one-shotting me, and there's a lot of enemies in this game that no matter what, like, no matter how much HP you have, they're going to be a difficult fight no matter what. So, like, I'm always in the camp of, if the enemy's dead, he can't kill you. So I always try to go for more damage. So again, this is our first time leveling up this character, so I would definitely go one across the board. If ever you hear me reference the big four, or our four stats, it's these guys. Again, everything else is not super useless, very fucking useless. So these stats here is basically what I'm going for here. Doom, doom, doom. Now, you can essentially do whatever the fuck you want. For me personally, again, based off my playstyle, if you're new, I'd probably go another one in HP or something like that. Because I'm fairly experienced with the game, I'm probably just going to go for more damage here. And yeah, that's about it. So we've leveled up. I honestly forgot to count. I think it was 6 times that we leveled up. So we are automatically got right up to level 16 just from completing that area. So now we're leveled up. Our weapon is upgraded. And we can go fight the first boss. So we're going to go back to Central Yharnam. And I'll see you guys when we get there. Alright, so before getting into the boss fight, we're going to equip our Molotov cocktails because the next boss is actually very weak, pretty weak to fire. A lot of the beast enemies in this game, and apparently us, a lot of the beast enemies in this game are very weak to fire. Actually, you are too. I kind of joked about that, but unironically, fire will fuck you up in the early stages of the game, especially when you have no armor or like no, yeah, I guess you can say armor, like no gear. Like, we just have the basic Katara right now, so fire will absolutely fuck you up. So I kind of joked about, you know, fire not being that dangerous to us, but, you know, fire will fuck you up. Not just beast, it will fuck you up. Go through here. I always like to kill those enemies. You could 100% walk by them if you want to. I would recommend killing them, just more practice and more souls. Or echoes. I'll do that a lot, by the way, in this playthrough. I'll call them souls instead of echoes and shit like that, so if that triggers you, fucking sorry. For these guys here, you got a group of crows and this big brick troll guarding the entrance to the boss arena. If you don't want to deal with the crows and this guy at the same time, just stand where I'm standing and throw a molly. It will kill all the crows and essentially leave this guy half HP. Let's do a charge attack. Oh, of course. I thought I was going to hit him in the back and be able to get the stun and, you know, all that good stuff, but apparently I'm trash. So, the next boss, or sorry, the first boss, Cleric Beast. Really the only two things I would say for this guy is to stick to that booty, stay behind the enemy, or behind the Cleric Beast. A lot of those bigger enemies are a lot more dangerous when you're in the front of them than when you're behind them. That's pretty much as simple as that. And then also, I wouldn't stay locked onto him at all times. You'll see in this fight, really the only time I'm going to like stay locked onto him is when I'm either approaching him and I'm trying to see what he's doing, or I'm trying to throw a Molotov at him. That's really it. Besides that, I would honestly recommend not locking onto this guy pretty much at all. So lock on right on the start, throw a Molotov. Of course he's in the air right off the bat. I actually mistimed that and I got a little bit lucky. Boom, boom. Oh, good golly. Okay, when he does that, where he's got his hands out, it almost looks like he's doing a T-pose. He's doing basically a big hug attack. Just stay away from the front because he'll grab you and smash you to the fucking ground, and it does a lot of damage. Ow! Alright, dude. I'm gonna die here? No, I'm not. That's the other thing, dude. Never panic in this game. Don't panic, man. If you panic, it's just gonna make things way worse, and you start panic rolling and you start attack spamming and stuff like that. Never good for anybody. He just did that attack that I was talking about earlier. Like I said, it's not exactly a T-pose, but he has his arms outstretched and it looks like he's in a T-pose for a bit. I always mistime that. Or not always, but I've been doing that this whole fight. I should probably heal again, because I'm a peach. There you go. You'll notice that I'm dodging into the enemy. This game, and honestly a lot of the Souls games, basically you have iframes when you dodge, so even if it looks like you're gonna get hit if you dodge a certain way, as long as you timed it right, you should be good. There you go. Is that leaping attack right there is a very common one that he does when you get too far from him. See what I mean? He's like really struggling just to get us when he stays to his back. Like the only thing he can really do is just do these weird little side kind of swipes, and it doesn't really hit for much, and he's just overall not having a good time right now. Another fun thing is that boss, this boss will do that maybe 2 or 3 times per fight, where he just does this weird animation to let you know that he's pissed off, I guess. I really don't know. But it's great because we can wail on him for free. Oh, that was good timing. Oh, right in the head, which means we can actually get a visceral. That was what I was talking about earlier. So that was limb damage. So because I hit him in the head, I think with a Molotov, and then I followed up with another attack, his head took basically enough damage so that I could get a stun off and get a visceral. That's going to be prevalent with a few other bosses, mainly I want to say 4th boss in the game, Vicar Amelia. When we get there, we're essentially just going to break her legs and her arms over and over again to make sure that she cannot even hit us. And if she does, she's essentially going to be dead. But yeah. With that being said, you just beat the first boss of Bloodborne. Congratulations. Again, that boss isn't too difficult. I assume you'll probably die once or twice to him, but if you're familiar with these kinds of games, you should get the hang of it fairly quickly. Again, we just stick to our 2 golden rules, which is stick to that booty, stick to the backside of the enemy. You're much safer on the backside of the enemy, and also just be selective with locking on. Don't do the whole fight locked on, because it's just going to make essentially following the camera and following the enemy and all that, it's just going to make it a chore. So with that being said, I'm probably going to end the episode here. That was the first episode of the my Bloodborne walkthrough, more so geared towards newer players or returning players. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. In the next episode, we're going to finish off Central Yharnam, and then probably get the second boss fight, which is Father Gascoigne. And then probably just tidy up a few little things in this area before we move on to Cathedral Ward and the next area. So again, I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a good day, guys.